Hey guys, what's going on? This is the DreamItAlive.com show. I am your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. Today's guest is a really phenomenal, amazing person. For those who don't know who Scott Lopez is, he is a former Marine Corps officer, fighter pilot, successful sales executive, entrepreneur, and get this, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. Now, this is quite a person. What's interesting about Scott is I actually met Scott through a common friend, David Meltzer, at a book signing for David's book. And, what intrigued me about Scott is that he's really just on it. He's really all about mental toughness, how to become the best version of yourself, peak performance. These are some things that you're really seeing right now in the self-help world. And Scott is really just dynamic, and his story of just overcoming and just, seeing things is just really, really, really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to talking with Scott and gauge his story and learn what it takes to be successful. So, Scott, how you doing, man?
Hey, Ash, how are you? Good morning, and good morning to everybody out on the show today.
Hey, thanks for being on here. So, Scott, I'm really curious to learn about your background. Give us the 5-minute kind of elevator pitch on, your upbringing and what led you to where you are right now. Because, I mentioned this before you jumped on. You are definitely one of the most dynamic, unique individuals I've ever met. And I think a lot of people can attest to that.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Getting a big head here. I try to keep myself a little grounded. Really, really appreciate that. It didn't start out that way for me with all these great experiences I've had in my life and these achievements. Actually, I started out from very, very humble beginnings. I was a welfare kid. My parents were divorced when I was 2.5. We were on welfare for a brief time. When I was younger, we were also, I was even in foster care for a little while. So, being that kid that was 2.5, and my dad lived in a different state. My mom moved around a lot, and God bless her. She really did her best. She was a single mom doing everything that she could. But from the ages of probably 5 to I think it was maybe 11 or 12, I went to 5 different schools, and always being the new kid, and always kind of trying to fit in. And what that does, that plays with the kid's psyche, right? I mean, kind of like. Why am I not the popular kid? Why can't I have the friends? Why can't I have this? Why can't I have that? And it really messed with me a lot. And for some reason, though, I always had this desire to be better, to improve, and to get ahead. But my mindset was really kind of stuck in more poverty mindset and lower income mindset. From there, about 7th, 8th grade, doing good in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade, I ended up kind of starting to mess up in school. And my grades were going down and getting in trouble. My mom said, "Hey, I love you, son. You're my everything. You're my heart, but you need to go live with your dad."
Wow.
And she sent me to northern New Mexico, a small rural town north of Santa Fe called Espanola. And Espanola is a very unique place. If anybody here on the show knows it, it's the lowrider capital of the world outside of East LA. And again, not really the hotbed of people that go out and do amazing things in their life. It's kind of a small town feel with kind of a small town mentality, and a very impoverished area. But my dad was fantastic. He gave me that tough discipline. I went to the same high school for 4 years. We ended up graduating, no problem. But only like 72 kids in my graduating class, Ash. I mean, I remember going to Disneyland for our grad night. Disneyland has this thing where they let all the graduates from across America come in for like the month of June, and we went. It was really a lot of fun. But I remember seeing us as these kids from northern New Mexico show up, and we saw all these Southern California kids. And I swear to gosh, they probably looked, at least 4 to 5 years older than we did. They were more sophisticated. They were very polished and kind of preppy. And I was just like, man, I had no idea how they got that way, and it was kind of intimidating. We had a great time, but it was just interesting to see the background that I grew up in and the background that what other kids grew up in. And so I really started to get this real desire. How can I do more? How can I get better? How can I achieve more? How can How can I get out of this situation? How can I even control my own destiny? I had that feeling in my heart. I didn't really understand how to get from here to there. So what I did, I went to New Mexico State University for my first year at college. Again, nothing spectacular. Almost failed out of school. Terrible results with my grades. But I was a good kid. And I said, I got to do something. I got to get my head on straight. I got to set myself up for success in my life. And I used, I didn't really use, but I enlisted in the Navy. I enlisted in the Naval Reserve to save some money for school, to get my head on straight, to get a trade. I got into like top secret codes and intercepts and intelligence work as an enlisted guy, and that was a real eye opener. I mean, that was like 10 months away from everybody. I went to Florida, was in Pensacola for my training. I saw these student naval aviators. I had always wanted to be a pilot. This was a time when Top Gun was coming out. I mean, I think Top Gun, influenced, a generation of young guys and gals to be pilots. And I had 1 year of college under my belt, and I saw these student naval aviators running around. I was like, I can do that. So from the Naval Reserve, I went back to school. I went to the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. I went to Naval ROTC. I applied for a scholarship, got turned down twice, finally got accepted, got out of the reserves. I was in NROTC, which is basically like the equivalent of the Naval Academy, but it's at a regular university. Maybe not as hard. I'm sure any Naval Academy graduates on the call, they'll probably say, not even close, buddy. But it was a opportunity for me to get ahead in my life, and I ended up finishing college on a Marine Corps. I switched to the Marines after 2 times trying for it. Tried to apply for the flight program. Didn't get accepted the first time. The second time I finally got it, and became a Marine Corps officer in 1990 from the University of New Mexico. That was amazing for me because I was the first one to graduate college, for my family, and and then I was on my way to flight school, and after all my officer training, it was really an amazing opportunity. So I used the military, and I served in the military, served our country as a way to get myself up through to be upwardly mobile, socially mobile, and kind of climb the classes, I guess. So in the Marine Corps, I ended up flying F-18s, which are the same jet that the Blue Angels fly. I was a public affairs officer, so I was on camera. I did media relations. I worked for a guy, and this is awesome. This is one of my highlights of my early career, and even today, just to be associated with this guy. I worked for a guy named Charles Bolden, and he was a guy from South Carolina, African-American, ended up going to the Naval Academy, went to the Marine Corps, became a combat pilot in Vietnam. After all that was done, he went to test pilot school as an aviator, got selected to go to NASA, became an astronaut, flew the space shuttle, launched the space shuttle telescope, or the Hubble telescope, went back to the Naval Academy to help run the place. He became a general.
Wow.
I was his aide. Yeah, I was his aide as a general. He retired as a 2-star Marine Corps general, NAACP Image Award winner. I mean, best of the best, the right stuff. And now the guy runs NASA. He's the NASA administrator, General Bolden, Mr. Bolden, Charlie Bolden, picked by President Obama. Yeah, BOLDN,
so
General Charlie Bolden.
You've clearly done a lot, and thank you for
sharing.
Yeah,
I know I'm going on, man, but
no problem. I kind of want to dive into a little more about what you're working on right now. I just wanted to get people an idea that you went through a lot of struggles, you went through a lot of diverse changes in your life, and it kind of got you to where you are right now. I mean, kind of give us a brief overview about how did you get involved with this whole mental toughness, peak performance, and that aspect? And then we'll talk more about your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. But I want to really understand what shifted you to realize this mental toughness initiatives that you're doing.
Right. So this very quickly out of the Marine Corps, I got an MBA, went to corporate America, became did that, was successful, and became a business owner. The bottom line here is I was always searching for more. And I always wanted more. I think we look at everybody in life. What do you want? You want more. You want more time. You want more freedom. You want more money, right? These are the 3 things that kind of universally appeal to everybody, some way or somehow. And through that process of corporate America and MBA becoming a business owner, I ended up getting married not once but twice, and I had 2 divorces. So those are pretty traumatic experiences. And you come through a second divorce vowing that you would never get divorced again after the first one. You've got to do a lot of soul searching at that point. At least I did, because I didn't want to be 0 for 3. I was 0 for 2, and I didn't want to be 0 for 3. And I was looking at the results of my life, and I was like, hey, I've done some great things. I've come from some cool places. I've had some really good success, but in my personal life, it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be.
Right.
So I did the work, Ash. I did the work. I went to coaching. I went to therapy. I went to seminars. I went to retreats. I read the books. I did it for many years. And what I came across in terms of mental toughness was this whole philosophy, and this is from a guy named Steve Siebold, who's my mentor and business partner. I work very closely with him. But the idea of mental toughness is, how do you, on a consistent basis in all areas of your life, personally, professionally, financially, how do you perform at the highest levels?
Okay.
Right? And because there are people that are crushing it, right? There's a group of people in the world that are at the highest level, and then there's everybody else who's trying to figure it out. And what I realized was, through research and all this experience, it comes down to thought control and emotional control. Right? Your thoughts lead to your emotions. Your emotion about anything, a person, place, or thing.
Give me a simple example of that. That's a very profound statement.
Okay, so let's say you're in an argument with somebody,
okay,
and you think that person's a jerk, right? That person's a real jerk. I don't want anything to do with that person. So that leads you to feel bad about them. Maybe you'll do something to them, retribution, or you'll move away from them, and then maybe you just miss an opportunity to meet a great person, right? So in that moment when that person reacted to you, you had this experience, your thought was they're a jerk. Right there, stop yourself. Be the observer. Go into that quiet place and say, is that really true? Is this person really a jerk? If I overreact, if I get engaged with them and I get resentful or angry, I may lose a contact. I may lose control. I may lose all this opportunity that could, the benefit of networking with them. And all of a sudden, you just closed the door. You burned a bridge because you didn't have the mental toughness to really understand the interpersonal dynamics of what was going on.
Can I use a real example?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, can I use a real example? Because I just had a friend who kind of walked me through a situation, and I'd love to hear what advice you would give for them. Is that cool?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so I had a friend. He recently was dating someone, and this girl, he called me about this yesterday. He was dating this girl for about 4 months, and it was going good. And then all of a sudden, the girl frankly just stopped giving him attention. The girl actually stopped doing all these things. She stopped being there for him. She told him he was all of a sudden that she's dating other people. And he did what I call something he could have done something better, but he just ignored her. He just stopped talking to her. He didn't even tell her, okay, I understand, let's move on. Maybe we're just meant to be friends. Instead, he just ignored her. And and then when he told me that he was really frustrated with her. He was like, oh my God, this girl is I'm so mad at her still. Just thinking about her pisses me off. And he blames himself. He becomes the quote unquote victim, the story of his life, or whatever you want to call it. My question to you is, and I know this is a very small example compared to some of the tough clients that you probably deal with and you yourself have dealt with, but it's just a simple example so others can understand. When you say put yourself in the third person or observe, do you think he should look back and say, well, maybe you caused this, or maybe, you know what, maybe you should appreciate the honesty of her telling you that, yay, it's okay, I'm dating other people, but I want to give you a heads up, instead of you getting cheated on and being found out, right? Or am I missing something here?
No, I think I'm going to take it even a step back higher than that. So relationships, one of the things, okay, let's go. Thoughts lead to emotions. Mm-hmm. Well, this way, what's your business here? It's DreamItAlive, dreams, yep. Right? How do we take, the images of our future, our dreams, and how do we apply that and make sure the things that we're doing every day, the interactions that we're having every day, are taking us in that direction? In my mind, how I've come to a place in my life, I look at my time and my energy it's a sacred resource. So where am I deploying my energy and my time every single day? Because I know what my dreams are. I know where I'm headed. I know what my goals are. I'm very focused personally, professionally, and financially. If I get into a relationship situation that's not working out, and they don't, right? Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But let's say it just kind of blew up. I have a choice right there. I kind of gauge what's going on in that relationship with where I'm going in my life. Does it serve me? This is where we talk about the observer. Does it serve me to get angry, resentful, upset, hurt, blame? Does my energy, my time warrant putting it to that situation? Or can I just say, hey, it's all good. I wish you the best. Much love. Sorry it didn't work out. Maybe take a day or two to kind of lick my wounds a little bit. But in the back of my mind, I'm still headed down towards my dreams, right? I'm still on point on my goals and the things I have to accomplish. So I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't serve anybody to get totally wrapped up in the drama and the trauma of small things, even relationships. Because those relationships, if they're not taking you where you need to go, if they're not uplifting and fulfilling, they probably weren't serving you anyway.
So he got himself out of a situation that would have caused him more havoc, which could have been, i.e., a divorce, or i.e., a bad breakup, or i.e., him going down a negative road. I'm going to tell him this.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. And so when we look at these types of situations, we can look at the success or the lessons learned. Again, it's all how we perceive it, right? It's all what's our mindset. If it was I've been divorced twice, right? So that, and my second wife, we ended up kind of dating on again, off again for a while, and we tried like crazy, but it still didn't work. So I rationalized that in my mind as if it was supposed to have worked, it would have worked. She did the work, I did the work, and we just weren't able to get from here to there. No hard feelings. But it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve your friend to be bitter, to be upset, to be resentful. And it's not easy to get to that place, right? It takes a while, but then look at the results of your life. I always do a reality check with my clients and anybody on the call. How are you doing personally? How are you doing professionally? How are you doing financially? If you're not where you want to be, why are you wasting your time and your energy in things that aren't taking you on the path of your dreams and your success?
I think I can answer that. Even putting in my own life into this as an example, I think it's the emotional attachment or the feeling of the good times or the good memories, telling yourself, oh, hey, maybe the good times will come back again and maybe that will happen. I mean, that's what I would say to that. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that's probably what some people might think. I've done that in the past too until I kind of got into what you're talking about.
Yeah, and what we're talking about a little bit there is fear and scarcity mentality, right? She's the one. Or he's the one. There's nobody else. My life is over. I mean, you know what? There's 7 billion people on the planet. There's many the ones in my mind. I've actually moved away. I've gone to a philosophy of complete love and abundance. And my thought process now is all I want in my life is amazing, awesome, cool people. That's it. I'm like, that's what I'm throwing out there. I want amazing, awesome, cool people. You're a part of that. You and I are friends, and we're doing this interview today, and I'm really excited about it. Love to meet everybody on the show. I just want awesome, cool, amazing people. And when I put that intention, that vibe, I put that in my dream board, then guess who shows up? Awesome, amazing, cool people. Men, women, young, old, straight, gay, professional, personal. I don't care. I just want great people. And oh, by the way, when that's happening and I'm happy and this is like this tribe, great women show up socially. I mean, there's amazing, awesome people show up, and I have a great dating life and a great social life, and I'm just it's the best times of my life, quite honestly.
That's amazing.
It's an abundance mentality, right?
Yep.
There's amazing, awesome people everywhere, and I'll tell you this: they're looking for other awesome, amazing, cool people.
Well, Scott, usually what I do on these interviews is I usually jump in halfway into it and get questions from the audience, but I already have 4 questions, so I have one last question, and then we're going to get some questions from the audience. You definitely are a popular guy on this interview, so it's pretty
Oh, great.
stoked.
Love it. Hey, that's awesome. Cool.
So my last question to you is like, I want to, just because you are a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion and you are an active athlete now in that world, what does it take to win championships? I mean, what advice would you give to someone that can apply, whether you're an entrepreneur, businessman, lover, friend, whatever?
Right. It's number one, first and foremost, has been, always will be mindset.
Mindset.
Right. It's mindset. So actually, right now, right after we get off this interview, I've got to go over to my school, my jiu-jitsu school. I'm training in about 45 minutes, and I've got the World Championship competition 2014 happening this weekend in Long Beach. So I've been training for the last couple of months, not as regularly as I would have liked to. It wasn't been the best training camp, but it's my mindset, and I'm there, and it's dedication to the sport. It's all that visualization. How do I want to answer that? When we look at the three components of competency in anything, right? Competency as an athlete, competency in sales, competency as a business person. There's three things you've got to have, right? One, you've got to have knowledge, right? Knowledge of your sport, knowledge of your products, knowledge of your business, right? That's basic. Everyone's got to have that basic knowledge. Then comes what? Skills training, right? So there's the knowledge of how the sport works or how the product works, and then there's your skills. And if we're talking about sales, then you got to have sales skills, right? How to get appointments, how to network, how to get your meetings, how to overcome objections, how to present, how to do client analysis, how to close. Those are skills. Jiu-jitsu, how to do the certain moves, the chokes, the submissions, the defense, the offense. Those are skills. The last part is attitude. When things get tough, right? When you have the adversity, when you have the anxiety, when you get the setbacks, the failures, the stress, the rejection, when all of that comes, are you strong enough to handle it?
Got it.
Can you stay focused and get through it? Does it take you down, or does it fire you up?
Okay.
Are you the student, or are you beaten down? Here's the last point of this. 70% of your competency is your attitude. So if you can work on the attitude, the rest comes. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. Well,
attitude and mindset.
That actually partially answers this first question from Janine. Janine asked, "Hey, Scott, love what you're saying. This is awesome. How do you develop the right attitude?"
Well, it's a process, right? I mean, why do people, or how do people achieve, or how do they not achieve? First thing, people, if we looked at the reason, or if we looked at everybody out there, first and foremost, nobody's better than anybody else. Everybody is created equally. So know that. The president's not better than you. Ash is not better than me. My kids are not better than whoever. We're all equal. However, there are average performers and there are exceptional, brilliant performers. So what do the people that underachieve do? First and foremost, they don't commit to taking action. Yep. They talk the talk, but they don't actually walk the walk, right? They're delusional about the results. They don't commit. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, Janine, are you committing? Secondly, they don't have a system or a formula or a process or a recipe for success, right? You could consider 7 habits of highly effective people, right? I have one for success. We call it vision times action plan times your mental toughness times your tenacity times your ability to learn, right? I mean, there's got to be some type of process you have to follow. Here's what we know. Almost everybody is winging it. Almost everybody's trying to do it lone wolf, right? And how do we know this? Because look at the results. The top people are not doing that. Yeah. Everybody else is doing that, and they're not getting there.
Okay. Well,
right? Yeah. I mean, I could. There's 2 more. Again, most people don't have the ability to overcome their fears, their uncertainties, and their doubts. Right? I said they have fragile egos. Right? That adversity and the criticism and the rejection, they can't handle it. They crumble. And lastly, this is very important. Most people are stuck in a comfort zone mentality, right? Good is good until one day it's not. Why do I have to work so hard when good is good? Why do I have to go to great, right? Good is the enemy of great, according to Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great. So just know if you're stuck in a comfort zone and you know that you're only giving 80%, why not go the 100%? So those are a few things. So what can she do? Yeah, what can she do? Well, do the opposite. Commit to taking action. Get a system, get a process. Work on your mental toughness. Push yourself from good to great. Monitor your thoughts and your emotions, because your thoughts lead to your emotions. This leads to your actions and your behaviors, the things that you do. And of course, that leads to results, and that leads to more thoughts. These are habit patterns. These are thought patterns.
Well, thank you for that. And Janine, I hope that answers your question. The next question is from Nicole. Nicole had asked, "Hey, Scott, thank you for serving our country. as a wife of a current Marine Corps individual who is going to be coming back here, how can I best how can I best prepare him for the real world? I have read that many veterans that come back deal with, struggles, getting used to the real world. What advice would you give him?
Wow, that's an awesome question, and I'll tell you, he's coming back with a completely different mindset. And I'm not the expert. I don't know if he was in combat. I don't know if where he's coming from, what his mindset is. You've got to look at the PTSD and all those war-related traumas. What I would say is, first and foremost, put him in touch with us, right? Friend me on Facebook, Nicole, Scott Lopez. I'm friends with Ash. Find us and, kind of get connected with us. But there are a tremendous amount of family readiness programs for people returning. There are counseling programs. I don't know enough about the situation and where his mindset is. If she could ask another question, is he coming back from a combat scenario or not? Is he going to stay in? Is he getting out? I would just say be there for him with unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance. But I don't know enough. Where's he at? And what does he want to do?
Okay. Well, I think I can help answer that. Just someone who's just a person. Just assume that this is someone who's in the military. Just let's pretend they served in combat, and because she said he is coming back from his position. So let's just pretend that he served in combat. He was in he was in a country, let's just say he was in Iraq or Afghanistan, and he's coming back after so long. How do you get back into the real world? Justin. Yeah,
so for me, I'm just thinking from a relationship dynamic. Again, is he going to stay in the Marine Corps if he's not or is he getting out? If he's staying in the Marine Corps, then there's a lot of programs within the Marines, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's family readiness stuff, there's counseling. Check all that out. What does he want to do? How is he feeling? I think the best thing that can happen, when we look at long-term relationships and we look at marriages, is it's Nicole, right?
Yeah.
So if Nicole, if you can do all the work that you can do to be completely okay with yourself, work on your self-esteem, work on your self-love, work on your mental toughness, monitor your thoughts and your emotions, look at your dreams, look at you be fully contained, right? You be the best version of yourself is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
From that place, you can create the space for him to be the best version of himself.
Got it. That makes sense. And Nicole, you can reach out to me directly, ash@DreamItAlive.com, or you can look out for Scott on Facebook. He's a very accessible guy and he pays it forward. So I hope you connect with him. The next question is from Rachel. She has a question on your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu workout routine. She asked, hey, I've been reading a lot about visualization and peak performance. I'm currently an amateur MMA fighter, and I just want to know, do you use visualization for training, and if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. Visualization is really important, and the reason why it's so important is that when we were infants, when we were first came onto the planet, right? When we first, little babies or whatever, the subconscious it soaks everything in, right? And the subconscious drives everything. So what was the first language we learned? We learned images, 3D visual images, and we learned feelings before we learned an actual spoken language. So this is why visualization is so important. The subconscious cannot distinguish 99% of the time between real events and live, vividly imagined events, right? So this is why sports psychology and sports performance visualization has been critical for many, many, many years. And here's one great example. Bruce Jenner, who was the Olympic decathlon gold medalist in the 1976 Olympics, came out of nowhere for 3.5 years. Nobody ever heard of this guy. He was in the USA. He ended up crushing. He won the gold. Ended up setting the record in the decathlon, which is the hardest Olympic sport. There's 10 events. It's huge. And what this guy did was, for 30 minutes every day for 3.5 years, He saw himself at the stadium, going through his events, being up on the podium, the feeling of the gold medal around his neck, listening to the Star-Spangled Banner, being, the sights, the sounds. He imagined that with such intensity for 30 minutes every day. When it actually came time to go do it, he had already been there, over almost 1,000 times. That's how powerful the subconscious and the mind is. So when we're talking about MMA or jiu-jitsu, going through your routines, becoming the best you, taking a punch, giving a punch, all of the things that you've got to do, your offense and your defense, just visualize it over and over and over with intensity, with emotion, with clear detail. And if you do this, pardon me, if you do this at night before you go to bed, kind of write it down, look at your game plan, think about it, feel it, and then as you're in bed, just relaxing, imagine that you won the fight. Imagine that you're the champion. Imagine that it's all come true. Your dreams have come true. The wishes have been granted. You've reached it. You're there. You're in that place. How good is that going to feel? Do those types of things, and you are guaranteed it's going to help you. It's going to you'll be in a different mindset than everybody else. Visualization is incredibly powerful. With feeling.
Awesome. Well, this last question from Angela, and I think this is the best way to conclude this interview. Angela asked, hey, I'm a DreamItAlive.com user. I heard about this interview on Facebook. Loving what I'm hearing. Scott, I wanted to know, are you a fan of dream boards, and if so, why?
Absolutely. Dream boards are super important because, again, it goes back to what I just said. Controlling your thoughts and your emotions to your behaviors and actions to your results, right? Let me just say one thing, and I haven't said this yet. Your passion, your purpose, your why, your motivation, your determination, your willpower, all of those things, okay, and none of those things are strong enough to beat a negative habit pattern or thought pattern in your mind. You can't do it. That's why people fail in their New Year's resolutions. That's why people have such a hard time with weight loss, right? When they get to a certain level, because they really feel down on themselves. Their self-esteem and their self-confidence gets beaten down, and no matter how much they try, they're just stuck in this negative thought pattern and self-limiting belief. And even lottery winners, right? I mean, you hear these stories of these lottery winners who make all this money, and then 2 or 3 years later, they're back to the same poverty level. They spend it all. So there's a dynamic, there's a negative thought pattern happening. Tony Robbins talks about it. Neuroscience talks about it. Anybody who knows anything about high performance knows about this. If you're not hearing about this from other coaches or gurus, then they're not as well read on this stuff. To break these thought patterns, again, you've got to become the observer. You've got to understand, what are you thinking and what are you feeling. A dream board where you can visually see your success, your achievement, your happiness, your inner peace, your life, the lifestyle that you want, right? Everything that could be and should be. You can create that on a dream board, and you can feel that, and you can just totally fall in love with that and live in fantasy land until that fantasy land becomes your reality. So that motivation is so critical. Again, the subconscious takes in its imagery, and it takes in feelings, and it's like it's the genie in the bottle, right? It will deliver to you what you want. Just be careful what you ask for. So when we create the dream boards, we're asking for what we want very clearly. This is why people do gratitude journals, right? This is why people write down their visions and read them. But here we have the dream board, which is just an amazing capability and product and experience. So yeah, I'm a huge component of these, because it helps bridge the gap from where you are today to where you want to be. It keeps you motivated. So when these crazy dramas and traumas pop up, or life happens, you go back to, hey, this is why I'm working so hard. This is why I'm going through this stuff. I know if I can control my thoughts and my emotions, I'll do the right things that keep me going in the direction of my dreams.
That's awesome. Wow. What a great way to conclude this interview. And Scott, before we end, what's the best way for people to reach you
Yeah, so a couple ways. Scott Motivates at gmail.com. Scott Motivates at gmail.com. My website is www.successwithscott.com. That's successwithscott.com. I'm on Facebook, Scott Lopez, and I'm friends with you. I think people will find me here on the website as well, so on DreamItAlive.com, and I'm just a huge fan of DreamItAlive.com, and one of your biggest fans, Ash, and everything that you guys are doing. I think we're in a place where we need to change people's ideas and thoughts about this kind of stuff, and awareness and consciousness, and you guys are at the leading edge, and so I'm really proud to be associated with you and do this interview today. Well, and thanks to everybody for those great calls.
Yeah, yeah, they were really great questions. And Scott, we're inspired by all the greatness that you do. I mean, we grow as you grow, so keep making the world a better place, and I'm really looking forward to building a relationship and supporting your endeavors.
Thank you very much. You too.